Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the development power team. Now, you've probably seen from people out there on the internet talking about property investment. You've probably been on some courses, probably looked at some of my content or read my book, Investing in International Real Estate for Dummies. In those, we talk about power team. You know, it's quite a power team or dream team or whatever you want to call it. That's the kind of people around you and the professionals you need to get a job done. If I was to do half of the jobs that are needed on a site, it would be totally impossible. I don't have the training, I don't have the education, I don't have the knowledge, expertise, or time, more importantly. Now, you really need to be choosing your time carefully on a development. You need to be working on the business, not in the business. And by that I mean you need to be considering how you grow your business, how the finances work, how you're going to be funded, what kind of sites and strategy you're going for. All that's like the most important stuff of any business. If you're not concentrating on that kind of stuff, you're not concentrating on maybe the cash flow and the finances and all these things, how they hang together, your business is going to fail, it's going to flop, you're going to be overwhelmed and you'll be stuck in the minutiae detail of the day-to-day running in the business. That's why we have a power team. Now, the traditional power team you hear of are usually your solicitor, your mortgage broker, maybe your accountant or tax advisor. They're kind of the key major people that you would be working with on a higher level, maybe a property sourcing agent or agencies. That kind of team is the basic high-end power team. Now, it goes a lot further than that. So once you've secured a deal, you're into the kind of the development phase and you're really looking at how the building is going to get built and the relevant people that are in there, from planning consultants to contract administrators, to really help you deliver that project there. Now, I've got a note here of a few that I've written down on my phone. There's so many, I can't remember them all off the top of my head, and I want to make sure the video is fairly complete. Starting off, it'll be early stages here. You've got your planning consultants, I just mentioned them, but then you're feeding into the architects. The architects can help you with your floor plans, your design, any design issues that go with the planning, elevations, floor plans. That whole discussion and working with that contractor, that architect contractor, goes a long way. A huge amount of detail in that and hugely important, right from the strategy through to the implementation of the building control drawings and regulations. That architect's going to be a crucial member of your team from day one. You then got an M&E engineer. That's mechanical and electrical. And that basically, in layman's terms, is plumbing and electrics. So your plumbers and your electricians, but the design of that system, when you're talking on a size of a site, we're in the entrance hall in our site in Newbury, Red Brick House. It's our latest one. It appears in a lot of the videos at the moment because we've just finished it. We're just starting letting it out. But ultimately, the plumbing electric design, you've got to work through the existing buildings. And when you're doing a commercial to residential conversion, it's absolutely vital that you are designing it properly to fit in with the existing fabric of the building. When you buy these, you're not quite sure what's there. Are there steel beams? Can you drill through floor plates? How is the structure of that floor plate set up? Are there rebar, iron going through it? So you need structural engineers on board to help with that. Other people that you're going to get in, you might have a facade and window consultant. Are the windows up to spec? Are they warm enough? Do they come to new build development specifications? Do you need to rip all the windows out and do them all again? We've had to do that on this site and it was a £180,000 bill. So you've got to be aware and you've got to have the right people telling you the cost beforehand so you get no nasty surprises. You'll have structural, civil and drainage engineers on board. 42 units on this one coming out into the street. Is that going to block the drains? Well, you can be sure it will if it's not upgraded. So you need those kind of service engineers to kind of teach you and show you, do the surveys to know what impact this building's going to have on the surrounding area, and will it cope with it? Do you need to contact Thames Water to upgrade the drainage down the whole street? Again, another huge cost if you do. Acoustic consultants, there's another one. Now, when you're doing any kind of conversion work, the acoustics of the units is critical. You're up to new build spec units. Will people be able to hear you next door or through the floors? So there's all sorts of impact sound tests, airborne sound tests, structural sound tests where it goes through all the beams. Believe it or not, I used to be an acoustic engineer out of uni. I did a 4-year course up in Salford in Manchester doing audio technology, but that was 20 years ago and I've forgotten most of it. So now I pay experts to come in. They're completely current, they have all the right equipment, they can do the test for you early on to make sure that you're designing the building to hit that specification. Acoustic flooring can be used, walls, double boarding, acoustic plasterboard. There's a huge amount of detail just in the acoustics here. I think you're kind of getting the general idea. I'm halfway through my list on my phone and the amount of consultations, the amount of detail you have to go to when you're building a site like this, it needs experts around you. So you'll have the improved inspector. Now, I would highly recommend that's a building control inspector. You can go straight to the council for building control. I did that for my first few sites. One of the big early mistakes I made. There are third-party private companies out there that do the building control sign-off for you. They will sign it off and then they will just get a certificate from the council at the end. The beauty of working with them is they're a bit more pragmatic, a bit more commercial. They can help you overcome problems more easily. They'll pick up the phone, you're their client and paying their bills, so they'll pick up the phone and answer the calls. Council, you can be banging on for days or weeks trying to get hold of them for some advice. Is this wall sufficient? Is this acoustic report signed off? And if you're chasing the council all the time, you're very rarely going to have a site that's delivered on time. So get a private engineer out from one of those building control firms, much easier to work with. You might have an arboricultural consultant, trees. If you've got trees on the site that need to be lopped down, adjusted, if you need to do some landscaping as part of the planning app, you might need to present some landscaping scheme as part of a larger scheme. Certainly on this site we've had to do various landscaping things that have tied in with the design, with the bike racks, with the bin stores that we've had to build and develop. That kind of stuff is little things you might not pick up on, but actually you can save a lot of money by having an expert design the scheme from day one. It's more likely to pass planning, and it's more likely to create a beautiful site at the end of it that works and gets delivered in accordance with the approved plans. I'm going to rip through a few of these because some of them are fairly obvious, but you'll have a fire engineer that's checking that it's safe, the building's safe, the fire escape routes are, and you can, fire escape routes are safe. There's a couple of fire doors you can see behind me. I propped this one so we can walk through it, but they're all on self hinges so that people can walk through them. All super safe. The lengths of the routes to the escape, how long are they? Again, so much detail in the fire. Do you need sprinkler systems? Do you need signage and break points and alarms, and what spec alarms? So the list goes on with every single one of these consultants. You've got asbestos surveys that need to be done early on, drainage surveys, underground services. You might want to do an underground services scan to see where the electrics run, what grade the electrics can take. And I mentioned earlier about the drainage and the water supply. That's all kind of stuff that you might be considered. What about a topographical survey? Are you digging into the ground? Are you building bike stores? Are you creating the risk of contamination? You might need a contamination surveyor or a contamination survey to see what the risks of contamination are. That's quite hot press at the moment. That's one of the 4 things that are looked at on PD conversions, on commercial to resi conversions. They look at contamination and you need to do a contamination report. Same goes for a lot of planning apps. They often are conditioned by you can only start works once you've done a suitable contamination report to assess any risks. You don't want you opening up the ground. Maybe it was a landfill, maybe it had some historic issues, maybe there was some contamination running under the surface that no one's aware of. And if you open that up, it can cause serious health issues, can cause issues for the surrounding area, the public, members of your team on site and future occupants of the site. So again, another bit of information you might not have thought of that's needed. We're coming to the end of these now, but basically you might need a building survey, you might need a roof survey. Most importantly, you'll need a contract administrator and a team of quantity surveyors to run your project with you in terms of costings, design, contract administration, change requests when you're working with the developer if things are changing. There's an awful lot of admin involved in doing a bigger site. Really valuable to have a contract administrator on your team. So I hope that's given you a little bit of a rough idea of what you might be looking at, what you've missed when you're thinking of going into a commercial to residential conversions. It's not a small task. It is a mean task to get up to speed on all these, understand them all, engage the right professionals, and indeed build your improved power team. So let me now take you downstairs. I'm just going to quickly show you a few of the services in the building to get an idea of the complexity and the number of consultants that may have been involved in preparing this building for let. Follow me. So here we're down in the basement now. Just kind of come and look at a few of the services that are down there, just to kind of illustrate, we're talking about all the various consultants that you need to bring on board for a site like this. A few of those are going to be mechanical and electrical engineers. That's all the plumbing and electrics. It's going to be, engineers related to broadband service runs, drainage surveys. Down here is where, the heart of a lot of that work has gone on, and you kind of can visually see it. In the rest of the building, I could show you a load of lovely apartments with taps, but you wouldn't really get a real gauge for the kind of work that's gone on behind the scenes to make and design those buildings. So in here, we've got these massive water tanks. Now these will service a huge amount of fresh water going to the apartments for heating. And you can see this all goes into the heating systems here and gets fired around the building. Huge bits of kit. I haven't got a clue what any of it does, don't get me wrong, but I know who to pay to tell me who does know what's going on. And they've designed this system. It's been signed off by our contract administrators and we only work with people that are excellent. So we've got a huge team now. We've built up through experience over the years, people we can trust, people that have been verified, people that do a great job. And this is one example of a system that's been installed in a building of this size to make it function effectively and make sure everyone has lots of hot water. We're going to have a look over here. This is kind of one of the smaller electrical cupboards. We've got new services of electrics that come in. So we had electrical engineers come in to look at this. We've got IT data cupboards. We've got all the kind of pipe works in here. We'll pan up there, see all the pipes that come in. We've got one of the largest water softeners you'll probably ever see. My one at home is about so big. I put a couple of salts in it, but this bad boy, it does open up. That's full of salt. So the importance of something like that, although that probably cost a few £1,000s as part of this installation, it's going to protect all of the pipes. It's going to protect the hundreds of thousands of pounds the plumbing and electrics, M&E, mechanical, electrical has cost on this site. We've probably spent £700,000, £800,000 on that kind of part of the system to build this site out. £100,000, sorry, I should say. So yeah, huge amount of money, huge amount of development cost, and that grassroots services is a key part to any development. And it's just to illustrate, you and I can't do this stuff. We haven't got a clue. I'm not a qualified, fully educated engineer that knows how to design systems like this. So you're going to have to bring on your power team with those kind of people that feed in. You're the project manager. You're the the person that has the conceptual design is running the business. You want to run and work on your business. You don't want to work in your business. So use your development extended power team. If you want to know more, I do talk about this in my book, Investing in International Real Estate for Dummies. There'll be a link on this listing. So make sure you grab a copy of that and you can read a little bit more about what's involved in developing properties, property investment strategies, everything to do with property investment that'll help you on your own journey.